Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. The Tszyu'S fans have reacted to the loss. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had time to mull over what's transpired. And like I said, Sebastian Fundora did what he was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Go on and try to win the fight. But I still believe that Tszyu'S would have won that fight had he not got the hole in his head in the first round. But that being said, a lot of the Australian fans have voiced, their opinion and their dismay over the conclusion of the fight. And surprisingly enough, they were very fair, but they have a way they feel about Tszyu'S and what should have been done in the fight. So anyway, I'll read some of the comments to you because I thought a lot of them were interesting and there were some consistencies, but there were also some people on here who I don't think were very fair to Tszyu'S, to Fundora, or even to myself, Hood Champion. One guy says, Tim has been set up the whole way. Now, some of it's cut off, but I'm going to read it to you. They don't want him to have the belts. That's why he never got the chance to fight Charlo. They switched to Fundora on 12 days' notice, never called the fight a no contest, and are trying to avoid the rematch. Now, when we just think about that, right? Tim has been set up the whole way. They don't want him to have the belts. That's why he never got the chance to fight Charlo. Now, I could understand how a person could arrive at that conclusion because Charlo did choose not to fight Tszyu. And when you look at fighters, when they have a big fight coming up, all of a sudden they have these injuries, right? If you look at Tszyu'S situation, now I'm not saying this is true, I'm just saying I can understand how someone could arrive at that conclusion. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a perfunctory type conclusion that I arrived to. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not just here saying something hurriedly. Now, Charlo had an injury, couldn't fight Tszyu. Keith Thurman had an injury, couldn't fight Tszyu, right? So they throw Fundora in last minute, 6'6", 10-inch reach advantage, so he's trying to put all 10 inches in Tszyu's mouth. And Tszyu had 11, 12 days to get ready for it. I could totally understand how someone would feel. They don't want him to have those belts. They were just trying to set traps. And unfortunately, Tszyu'S, he got caught in one. So I'm not saying I agree. What I'm saying is I could understand how someone could sit back on the outside and say, shit, it looks like they've been setting this man up the whole way. And they didn't want him to have the belts. Never got a chance to fight Charlo. Then they throw in, Cockroach Man, Fundora. And they didn't call it a no contest, right? Which is what it should have been called. Whether Tszyu'S rushed in and got hit with the elbow or Fundora inadvertently hit him with the elbow, the bottom line is he got hit with the elbow, right? It happened. It happened. You let him at the end of the first, he comes out the second round. Maybe you see how he's performing. But once you see that cut, that blood can't be controlled, right? Maybe you let him come in the third round, give the corner a chance. But the fourth round, coming out in that fourth round, somebody's got to make a management decision, a leadership decision. Someone has to let their nuts hang and say, this fight needs to be stopped. They can't get control of this goddamn bleeding. Tim, we know you want to fight. Fundora, we know you want to fight. Fans, we know y'all may stone us, throw beer cans at us. However, this fight can't continue like this. But nonetheless, that's not what happened. But I think me personally, I think it should have been declared a no contest. Okay. Next person says, it's a shame and sad now. Tim has to work his way back up. Let me move this over a little bit. Being such a great ambassador for the sport and keeping the main event alive with 2 weeks notice, it's not the throwback era, it's the money era. Well, I totally agree with this person is saying, but you know what, at the end of the day, Tim chose to move forward with the fight, but I can understand, and there was, when people say, oh, he should have never moved forward with the fight, I understand what you're saying, but I also understand these fighters who, a guy like Tim or any fighter, right? So let's just take a fighter who is not really active and he getting the opportunity to fight and finally make some money. And then you see that, you know, this opportunity is about to sail away. I have to make a decision. Do I not fight and not get paid and go, who knows, another month, few months, a year without any activity? Or do I just get in here and take the fight even though this isn't the ideal situation? Most fighters will take a fight. Now with Tim Tszyu, he's been active. He's a multi-millionaire, okay? He didn't have to take it. But when you look at him, you know, fighting Harrison, fighting Ocampo, and then he fought somebody else. He fought 3 people. I can't remember who the third person was he fought. It's slipping my mind. Anyway, he fought 3 people. 3 very competitive fights, right? But the whole time he's Charlo, I want Charlo. So 3 different opportunities where it should have been Charlo in there at some point. He never got Charlo. Then he wants to come to the States. That trying to figure out what day he's going to fight, the whole PBC, Amazon deal. They say Keith Thurman, he gets excited. He's working towards that. Now he has the name. Now he has the venue. All the stars line up for Tim Tszyu to come out here and to cross over, right? To become an international sensation. And then 2 weeks before the fight, you say, hey, you don't have to take this fight. He's knowing the world he wasn't going to take that fight. He was going to be, just like as his comment said, he was going to be a great ambassador for the sport and keep the main event alive. And that's what he did. But the problem is they didn't just give him a soft touch. Now I think he would have knocked out Fundora personally. But still, to get in there with someone who's 6'6" and trying to put 10 inches all up in your mouth, you know what I'm saying? That's hard to deal with. But Tim was handling him no problem until he got cut. So he deserves to be commended for going forward with the fight. But at the same time, I don't know if he'll do that again because of his, I'm not going to say his hubris, but I think his pride. Because of his pride, he took a fight on a short notice that he probably shouldn't have taken. And then 2, his pride caused him to continue in the fight where he had another opportunity to exit left, but his pride kept him in the fight and he ended up losing his belt. So all in all, I think for Tim Tszyu, he won't let his pride cloud his judgment going forward. I don't think. This person says, this should be a no contest. It was an accident. He headbutted the elbow. He can't even see well, but he landed a good punch, and his team thought he was going to win to get the KO. This rematch needs to happen. Yeah, I think Tim thought he was going to be able to knock out Fundora, but I don't think he anticipated the amount of bleeding that was taking place. Tim is not the first boxer that is cut and has a fight with a lot of blood on his face. This is boxing, not WWE. These kind of things happen, and Fundora fought a very good fight. He won clearly. Yeah, you know, I don't know if I agree with Fundora fought a very good fight. I think Fundora had an opportunity, and he seized it. He fought his temptation to get in the ring and look for a mashup crash-up because Tim Tszyu had already destroyed his nose and face, and Fundora realized I don't need to be standing here in a phone booth fighting this Australian fighter who's putting the Aussie bing bings on my ass. I need to be smart. And Tim Tszyu was getting hit with a lot of shots. Yeah, Tim Tszyu needs a bit more head movement, but he was getting hit with a lot of shit because he was wiping blood from his eye and he couldn't see. So I don't give Fundora a whole lot of credit for fighting a good fight. I give him credit for seizing the opportunity and finding a way to win. But this person says, I've seen other fights where a boxer has a ton of blood, either cuts in both eyes, and still win the fight. The corner was at fault for failing to stop the bleeding. The cut was not dangerous and was totally accidental, so no one could claim to stop the fight. Fundora won. Period. Get over it. The cut was not dangerous. I mean, the man only had a hole in his head with his brains gushing out. But I mean, if you don't think it was a serious or dangerous cut, there's a lot of blood that was lost in that fight. And when losing blood like that, I'm not saying it was arterial bleeding and shit, but it was a lot of blood, and who knows how that affected him and could have weakened him somewhat. But he looked strong going down the stretch, so I would tend to think that Tim Tszyu was okay. This says dog fight. So unfair for Tim. Ref and doctor need a new profession. Give him a proper chance. Go Timmy, much love from Australia. Championship is yours. I tend to agree with this guy. I think Tim Tszyu will bounce back with no problem. The referee and doctor need a new profession. I mean, I don't know. I think what you had here was a ref, a doctor, and a corner all kind of looking at the fighter to make a decision, instead of those guys within their capacity saying, we have all the power in the world to stop this shit, and this isn't looking good, but nobody wants to be the person that has that attention on them for stopping a fight. You got to understand, people. Rolly Romero was in a situation with Barroso where a fight was stopped. The referee for his fight was under scrutiny. Then you had Tony Weeks again, and that same, I think Barroso was fighting. I can't remember who was reffing that Barroso fight against O'Hara Davis, but they felt like the fight was stopped prematurely. But Tony Weeks had jumped in and stopped another fight. But bottom line is, referees, doctors, those key decision makers, right, who can influence the outcome of a fight, they're under scrutiny. And a lot of them, they don't want to be the person to make those decisions unless it's going to be something seen as favorable. But if they do something that they feel can be perceived as unpopular, they're not doing that shit. And you can't blame them, because who knows when they come out that ring what fanatic may run up on them and bite them in the ankle. So, I understand the referee and judge, but at the same time, you're getting paid good money, man. Make a goddamn decision. One guy says, love the honesty here. I appreciate it. Then you have this guy, shut your chicken eating A-word up. Black people always hating and kissing up to the white man. Tim lost. Oh, blood in a fight. Shut your chicken eating ass up. Black people always hating and kissing up to the white man. Tim lost. Oh, blood in a fight. Okay, first of all, shut your chicken eating ass up. Well, I mean, my man, be specific. You know what I'm saying? What kind of chicken do you think I eat? You say chicken is chicken. I like curry chicken, stewed chicken, you know what I mean? Jira chicken, that's cumin, What kind of chicken we talking about? Because I do like chicken, especially curry chicken. Black people always hating. Kissing up to the white man. So, I mean, this shit about black and white, and these people are like, what's wrong with society? Anyone who hates a person wants to draw attention to race, whether it's drawing attention to someone being white, black, Asian, biracial, multiracial, it doesn't matter to me, right? All I'll tell you is, sir, I'm sure you're the kind of person who gets out the shower to take a piss and then get back into the shower. Stop acting your shoe size, right? I don't know what your story is, but I have to tell you, right, that I kindly request, in the most respectful way, that when it comes to these comments, shut your chicken eating ass up, black people always hating and kissing up to the white man, Tim lost, old blood in the fight, to hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. Bozo. Y'all gotta come on. I feel like I got a goddamn, like when I was in the military and you got these subordinates just joining the military, I almost feel like I gotta sit this guy down and counsel him and mentor him, you know what I mean? It's like dealing with a goddamn 18-year-old who just left home from mommy and daddy and grew up underneath a fucking rock. Next guy says, Good on you for being straight up honest, and I think you're 100% correct on all counts. You earned my sub within 2 minutes of listening to your reason. Well, I appreciate it, man. Anyone on this channel, they should know I don't have a favorite fighter. You know what I'm saying? I like boxing. So I'm going to talk about the things that I find interesting. But if no one likes what I'm talking about, and I appreciate the guy who likes the content and subscribe, y'all can go to them other channels, man. They got way more subscribers than me. They don't put out as many videos as me. They put out videos that probably talk about 1 or 2 fighters in every video. You can go look at that. I'm not hating on nobody. I wish everybody out here could make millions of dollars. But I am what I am. So it is what it is. This guy says, absolute disgrace on the Las Vegas Boxing Commission to allow that to continue after round 3. Pathetic disgrace. A lot of people agree. Now I understand why Inoue doesn't want to fight in the USA. So that's not the first time I've heard somebody say that Inoue doesn't want to fight in the USA because the concern is that he'll get robbed or there'll be some kind of foul play. Now, the other side to that argument is there are people saying he doesn't want to come here because Inoue doesn't want to undergo stringent drug testing. So I don't know what it is, but maybe it's because Inoue can fight in Japan and make $10-12 million. So he doesn't need America, to be honest with you. Shit, he's already known here. But come over here to get out of his comfort zone to make the same money? Shit, he sit right there in Japan and keep killing it. So if I was Inoue and I was comfortable and happy, I wouldn't come there. Bring the American fighters over there. That's what I would do. Just like the American fighters here who have that star power. No, you uproot people from their countries and bring their ass here if there's more money. But the bottom line is, no matter what fighter you are, you got to go where the money is. Because boxing, it's called prize fighting. Fight for a prize. Go get the goddamn prize. This person here says, Tim Tszyu was punching the crap out of Fundora. He needed a miracle to survive and got it. That is spot on. That's exactly what happened to Fundora. The man needed a miracle to survive and he got it. And he got it in the first round. I'm telling you what, I don't think Fundora would have got out of round 4. People talk about Tim Tszyu not having much head movement. Fundora has no head movement. Zero. Cockroach Man has no head movement. So I do agree with that. If a person disagrees that Fundora got a miracle by Tim Tszyu getting that cut on his head, then, it's your opinion, but I would think you're just not being fair to the conversation. There will be a rematch as stated in the pre-fight contract. Well, what I'll tell you is my understanding is it's verbal. And you listen to Fundora's team. Ship has sailed. Unfortunately, they're going out here to get as much money as possible, which is the right thing to do because it's a short lifespan in boxing. But if you're talking about what's the honorable thing to do and a person with integrity would do, they give Tszyu the rematch, but they're not doing that. Like I said, they needed a miracle to happen, and a miracle, it's like lightning not going to strike twice in the same place. And I just think for Fundora, in order for him to have something kind of develop early in the fight that would play to his advantage, I think he'd have to do something flagrant this time because Tim Tszyu, I think, will be more careful and definitely be wary of those long arms and elbows. Spot on, man. You said that perfectly. Thank you. Appreciate it. If it wasn't for Tim, Fundora wouldn't be holding those titles. Very true. Fundora, if he's a true champion, would rematch Tim. He's not going to do that. The promoter has messed up the rematch. He's more interested in money only. Can understand that. And Tim only had 12 days to prepare for Fundora. True. And the thing about it, Fundora was preparing to fight somebody with a similar style to Tim. And Fundora was looking to try to box and use his reach and put all 10 inches in Tim's mouth. So Tim had more of an uphill battle. And I'm not just saying that because Fundora is 12 feet tall. If Fundora fights Spence, Fundora will miss weight. So it won't be a title fight. So the fight goes on, but no title on the line. And that will be set up by his promoter and the WBC president. They love Mexicans to hold the WBC belt. Well, if Fundora fights Spence and misses weight, then he loses the title on the scale. So the title becomes vacant. And if Earl Spence beats him, then Earl Spence can win the belt, but Fundora can't. So I understand what you're trying to say about the WBC president, Mauricio the Nose Suleiman, being biased. But that's not quite how that would work out. But I understand what you're saying. This guy here says, it's a cut. It's just skin, mate. Fundora is the one that's in a mess. Honestly. And of course he was screwed. Long before the fight was even started, it was a setup. And totally agree. Fundora should have been deducted points for the cut. Well, I don't think I said he should have been deducted points for the cut. I said the fight should have been stopped because it was accidental. So you can't take points from Fundora because there was an accidental cut. So, but I think the fight should have been stopped. It should have been called a no contest after the third round. I think we all agree. There will be a rematch. I don't know if I doubt it. Yeah, it could have been called, but I think Fundora can win again. Well, I think Fundora and Tim Tszyu will both prepare a little differently, and Fundora's got to get out the way of that right hand, and Tim Tszyu's got to be very careful getting underneath Fundora's shots, because Fundora is, he looks like an upside down slingshot. You know what I'm saying? The man is like a goddamn beanpole, but his elbows are sharp as a fish scaler. So Fundora is just a walking goddamn weapon. Like, you just got to be careful with Fundora, man. Like, he can really cut you up, and not even trying to do it intentionally. Like, he's so thin and such sharp and pointed elbows and everything about that dude, man. So it's not Fundora's fault he was born that way, and he's not a dirty fighter. So he may try to pull the head down. Every fighter tries to pull your head down, but he's not a guy who's into trying to lacerate you with his elbow. So, I mean, we'll see. This guy says, it's not the first time that an Aussie boxer has been screwed over by the American judges and promoters. Remember Jeff Finich. Well, I think anytime a fighter goes to another country and things don't go their way, even in a close fight, they're going to feel like maybe they would have got the decision if they were fighting at home. It says, Keith must be kicking himself. What's good, champ? Hell yeah, Keith Thurman must be kicking himself, but I don't know. Keith Thurman, Tim Tszyu. That doesn't mean the fight would have gone the way to Tim Tszyu and Fundora. Tim was throwing that right hand, and Tim is explosive. But I tell you what, Keith Thurman, it would have been an interesting fight. Because I was watching the fight, and I was like, damn, if Keith Thurman was fighting in here, Keith uses both of his hands. Left hand, right hand, lateral movement, throws a beautiful combinations. And Tim Tszyu gets right hand happy. And that's just being real. Right hand happy, could move the head a little bit more. But him against Keith Thurman would have been an interesting fight. I don't think Tim would have just got in there and steamrolled Keith Thurman. I think it would have been a very, very interesting competitive fight. But Tim is so explosive. If you look at that first round, he hit Fundora with several right hands and just broke his face, his nose, everything, man. You know what I'm saying? Just destroyed his face that first round. I was like, shit, he hit like that. So Tim Tszyu got some power. And if he would have caught Keith Thurman with something like that, especially a shot in the body, even upstairs, I think Tim could hurt Keith, but we'd have to see what would happen if Keith hit him, because Thurman can crack. But who knows? Maybe we'll get that fight next. You just never know. Samson Lekowitz said in the post-fight presser that there was only a verbal. Yeah, we talked about that. It wasn't dumb, mate. He doesn't want to let the crowd down. For him, it's not about belts. It's about crossing names off his T-shirt. Well, yeah, I do think Tim Tszyu just wants to fight the best. Looked like an O.J. Simpson crime scene. Hell yeah, it did. I agree with you 100%. This was crazy. There's a smell in the air. Yeah, makes you wonder. Makes you wonder if there's a little secret society business going on. Why everybody's saying Tim Tszyu was screwed? Tszyu screwed himself, if at all. Tszyu underestimated Fundora too much to his own downfall. He believed he would knock Fundora out like Mendoza, even with the menstruating head. Tim Tszyu was already in talk with Bud before he stepped in the ring with Fundora. So why should Fundora not talk to Spence equally? If Tim won, would he have rematched Fundora? Hell no. Tim was preparing for Keith Thurman, who was not a natural 54-pounder. And agreed just 12 days to go, and gangling natural 54 in Fundora. How stupid can someone be to do that? It was Tim who refused to let the fight go to a no contest as soon as his menstruation started. F Tim Tszyu. I don't pity that arrogant C word. Fundora has every right to squirt all over Tim Tszyu and this virgin his face. Wow. Said a whole lot there, champ. Let's see. Tszyu screwed himself. Yeah, I think we agree that Tszyu could have probably gone a different route and not took the fight. And even when he got cut, just say, hey, I want to just come back and take a rematch and let's stop the fight now. Tszyu underestimated Fundora. I think the cut is what caused everything. I don't think he underestimated him. He was actually giving Fundora the business. The cut changed the outcome of the fight. And it was people talking, a lot of people get cuts. That cut up on top of his head, man. That was a pretty bad gash. That bleeding was one of the bloodiest fights I've seen in a long time. That shit had the kind of blood like Badu Jack, Marcus Brown. So come on. As far as him talking to Terrence Crawford before he stepped in the ring with Fundora, I mean, that's what you do. It doesn't mean he's looking past him. He's just having a plan. You know what I mean? I don't think he lost focus. I just think he's having a plan and having a few pokers in the fire. Why wait to start discussions until after you have a fight? You know, these guys lose months of negotiating time when they wait to start after a fight, because anything can happen. The thing is, you want to have those discussions up front, lock some things in place where all you have to do is win. Eddie Hearn is good for that. That's not a bad practice. I think that's actually pretty damn smart. As long as your fighter is disciplined enough to understand, okay, I have these things. It's like a person. You either go to college or you don't. But you know what? You don't get a job and then decide to go to college. If you do that, it can work, but it may take you a little bit of time to get shit sorted out and get the pay you want. But if you go ahead and grind it out, go to college and then go out there for a job. Guaranteed to probably make the money you want a little bit quicker. So everyone's going to have an opinion, but I don't know if I agree with that. This person says, Fundora was holding the back of Tim's head. Yeah, it happens all the time in boxing, especially when you got somebody who's 12 feet tall. Thank you for saying what a lot of others haven't. The only thing I say after the fight is a question Tim wouldn't answer. It's one about his corner perhaps not doing enough to stop the blood. He said no comment. Yeah, his corner, he needs. I think Tim Tszyu is going to clean house. I think so. I think he's going to look at his corner, look at their inability and inexperience with the cut, and he's either going to clean house or going to make sure they get trained up so they can know how to handle those situations. I think his brothers, so Costa Tszyu's sister married a guy. That guy is, I think, in the corner with Tim Tszyu. So it's his uncle. But I'm not so sure he gets rid of him, but I think there may be those guys collectively will talk about what they can do going forward to make sure that doesn't happen again. Fundora had to fight with a busted nose. He would have been better without it too. Well, yeah, that is true. He did have a busted nose. Guy says, I agree with what you're saying. He says, up to the cut on Tim's head, Beanpole knew he was in a fight. Yeah, I think we all agree. He said, but remember the fight was held in America. Again, I can understand how people are saying that fight would have been somewhere else. I just think there was some incompetence, some poor judgment calls, and as a result, Tim ultimately suffered. This guy says Tim Tszyu got beat up badly. In a fight, that's what happened. It was not close. Well, hold on now. This guy says he got beat because he couldn't see. Couldn't you see how obvious it was? I'm not taking anything away from Fundora. He did what he needed to do, but unfortunately it was because of the freak accident that the fight shifted, plain to see. Tim Tszyu's style is aggression. He tried to get inside of Fundora's 80-inch reach. He ran into an elbow because of his style. Tszyu was not patient. It's Tim's job to protect himself, not run into elbows. I get it, but the point is the doctor or corner should have stopped the fight. I'm taking nothing away from Fundora. He did what he needed to do against. It should have been stopped because of the excessive bleeding and blurring his vision. A doctor friend of mine said the doctor definitely should have stopped the fight. He didn't run in. He literally tripped over Fundora's legs. Okay, so everybody's going to have an opinion. But I think for the most part, the consensus is that fight should have been stopped. He says, I agree with you. This guy says the guy was set up from the beginning. Says, what do you think about Haney versus Garcia? I think Garcia would have a chance, but he has been off the rails crazy lately. I didn't think I lost the tank. Should have been a big deal. He's tanked for a reason. I don't know if that loss shook his brain, but Garcia is and was a good fighter. He has the speed and power. I think he was still improving. I think Garcia beats Haney. A lot of people disagree with me, but I do. I think he's going to land. That speed and power is crazy. I think he's going to land on Devin. And I think he'll knock him out. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's just my opinion. The ref and doctor are there to protect the fighter. They failed. Yeah. What a terrible way to lose your title and your undefeated status. Should have been stopped. Tszyu deserves a rematch. So a lot of people are agreeing. No contest. So everyone is sharing the sentiment here. So what I will say is that the Earl Spence, he said this was a bloody setup. PBC and the WBC are corrupt. Earl Spence bet on the fight, and he bet for Fundora to win, and Earl Spence won big money. I think that's a little. I mean, things happen, but that's a little crazy to me. But I mean, it's not like they could have predicted the elbow. But I just thought that was interesting that Spence bet on Fundora. This guy says he thinks Fundora beats Spence. I think this is my thing with Earl Spence. Earl Spence, he bruises very easily now. His face swells. He has all that scar tissue. If he gets in there with Fundora, and Fundora can put the Mexican-American bing-bings on him, Spence could find himself with his face swollen up, his eyes closing. He could find himself looking pretty crazy, man. And that's what would concern me about Earl Spence going into a fight with any of these guys. You know, it's just he has all that scar tissue. And if Fundora can use that 10-inch reach advantage and put all 10 inches in Earl Spence's mouth, then Earl Spence, we could see that fight get stopped just from the bruising and cuts. Because I'm going to tell you right now, everybody right now is concerned about Earl Spence, and they're going to be watching him. It's just like when Margarito got in a rematch with Cotto. Two things were going on there. One, they were concerned about Margarito's eye, and Cotto was damaging that eye. And two, they didn't want Cotto to lose. So Margarito was battling the secret society. There's no way in the world he was going to win that fight, because they stopped that fight just when Margarito was picking up steam and was getting to Cotto. So Margarito, like he was about to stop Cotto, and that's when they stopped that fight. So the secret society was in full effect, because they could have let that fight go on based on Margarito and how he was performing. And the round before, they stopped the fight. So I don't have no issue with them stopping that fight, because that bitch cheated, loaded his gloves when he fought Cotto in the first fight. But in that second fight, Margarito, no doubt, was on path to getting a victory. This guy says, night, night, sweet dreams. Please go to sleep, bro. Yeah, he's joking me because I was tired as hell doing this video, man. I'm telling you, man, I was busy as hell with my kids and getting up early and shit. But sometimes I try to get out here and do 1 or 2 videos before I go to sleep. But I was definitely tired. And let me see what else. Well, where there's big money, there's corruption. No doubt about that. He didn't come up with any excuses. Yep. Tim Tszyu, very proud of him for not doing that. This guy says they want to keep the fight in the USA. Tim had one eye, and Fundora looked average. Tim had both of his eyes, man. He just had the blood running, you know. I mean, that shit was just cascading, water falling down his face, man. So it is what it is. Yeah, very bloody fight. The guy says, I'm on the same page as you. That's a dent, not a cut. Yeah, that shit was bad. So everybody is agreeing. And this, my boy here says, bro, at one point they literally had the cotton swabs all the way inside of that cut. That shit was gross. And that's the other thing. If you can put all that, pack the cotton in, that tells you how deep the cut was. What are they doing? Because it's on top of the head? Yeah, but the blood's going, it's like, again, that shit is water falling into his face. I don't know, man. That shit is crazy. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. One guy says, lost to an elbow, what a joke. But that's how the fans feel. They feel that there should have been a no contest. They feel that, you know, when it comes to boxing, and I'm going to say the secret society, they never want Tim to be a champion. They didn't want him to fight Charlo. They put him in there with guys, and, you know, of course, he tranquilized all three opponents. And then he finally got a big name, and they pulled that big name, and then they'd even put in a suitable supplement. You know what I mean? They found a total opposite, you know what I'm saying, type of fighter. I'm talking about a contrast in opponents for Tim Tszyu to try to get in the ring with. And they just feel that he deserves a rematch. So bottom line is, Tim Tszyu fans, they react to the loss. They still support their boy. And I'll say Fundora, no one is faulting Fundora. Nobody. But bottom line is Fundora did what he had to do. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. You know, boxing is like the jungle. The strongest survive. I saw some shit the other day where wildebeest was giving birth. And it was trying to move away from this pack of goddamn wild dogs, those wild painted dogs. There's nothing it could do. The painted dogs were just sitting there, just chilling, watching this shit, because they knew, I guess they recognized the wildebeest was in heat. And just as it was giving birth, and that baby wildebeest was coming out, and those painted dogs were on his ass, and they ripped that baby wildebeest apart and ate him. And that's kind of how it is in boxing. It may suck, it may be unattractive, it may make you squirm a little bit, but it is what it is. You're either going to find a way to win and survive, or you're going to find a way to lose. And in this fight, I think there were some people who found a way to win. I think Tim Tszyu found a way to win by showing he was a true ambassador to the sport and he's a true warrior. I think Fundora found a way to win by saying, you know what, hey, I feel bad for Tszyu in that cut, but this is boxing. I'm trying to improve the level of comfort for my family, so I gotta take advantage of his being handicapped. Or you find a way to lose, and that would be maybe Tim Tszyu a little bit by letting his pride cloud his judgment and going forward in the fight he probably shouldn't have when he had two opportunities to get away. The referee for being afraid to make a judgment call, the doctor for putting the onus on the referee and the fighter, and the corner for not wanting to upset the apple cart when they should have told Tim, come back, fight another day. So across the board, I think some good and bad. We're not all going to share the same opinion. However, I like Tim Tszyu. I think he'll come back stronger than ever. It's not that he got beat down. It's not that it looked like he was going to lose the fight. Even when he was able to, you know, clear his mind for not long enough to let his hands go throughout the course of the fight, he was still having success. So I think Tim Tszyu, without that cut on his head, I think Tim Tszyu destroys Fundora. I do. That's just me. But anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. That's a 40-minute video I just did. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'm in the breeze.